So, here. I got one. Yeah, you got some water? All right. So first off, I wanted to, oh, that's gin.
Oh, yeah.
First of all, I want to say, Alf Mabruk.
Oh, shukran.
You're welcome, I think.
Yeah.
I feel very privileged and excited to be here. Number one, because I love the book. And number two, because I think there's one other person whom I've met who shares a particular heritage. In my case, it's Scottish and Lebanese, and people would always kind of laugh when I'd say that. They go, what? And but maybe it's a little less uncommon now. But when I feel like you kind of upped the ante for me with the Palestinian Newfoundland.
Totally. I got one on you. The only thing I got on you.
Yeah, because the Newfoundland cred is well as we know.
Well, like I say, I can tell a good joke, but it bombs. That's not everybody gets that.
You've told that before.
I know. That's my only. It's on the book. I don't remember jokes, but I got that one written down.
When did you start writing The Philistine?
Oh, well, I went to Egypt in my mid to late 20s.
So a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's right. A couple of years ago. And then I put it in a drawer for a long time. It was a story I wanted to tell, and the story, which changed a lot, was about the difficulty and the tragedy and the sadness of having ambition and talent in a country where the resources and social structure don't necessarily support that. And not because it's, for example, a Muslim country or anything like this, it's a poor country. And it's a country without a big middle class, it's a country without, necessarily a lot of institutions. And so Manal, to me, was very typical. She wanted things, and I knew people like that, and she would never get them. And were hard, would be very hard, and paid high prices. And that's a story that I wanted.
So Manal is the artist.
Yes,
in the book, and
she's the Egyptian.
She's a terrifically gifted Egyptian painter who seems to be, and I don't want to give anything away, but she seems to have this kind of fatalistic resignation about how things are going to go. And
well, I think that fatalistic resignation exists in Egypt in general. They have a very good sense of humor and also a realistic, if not depressing kind of take on what is possible, what they can do, what might happen. Things fall apart, and in a lot of places for a lot of people, things regularly fall apart.
And literally.
Literally, yes.
Yeah.
And the stakes are just very, very high.
So in your book, there's also a character named Tufik.
Yeah, Tufik.
Tufik, and he's a lovely character. And when the women become closer, and you have a sense of, oh, I hope nobody's going to be, I'm not going to run into trouble. He seems to be kind of a natural ally, surprising off the top, because you think, oh, this guy, this conservative, young, uneducated guy,
religious.
He's going to be homophobic. He's going to be terribly sexist. He's going to be this, that, and the other. But in fact, he's a friend.
Yeah.
And which is what happens in the best writing, which is we're surprised and it seems inevitable. But then just when we're feeling kind of warm about that, we realize that he's gotten involved in his Muslim Brotherhood.
Yeah. In a country like Egypt, Muslim Brotherhood or any of these sort of marginal groups, they spring from the same place that our unions sprang from in the 30s. They spring from a place where they want to protect the people that have no rights. And so in Egypt, if you are not born into money, essentially, you basically have no rights. You're vulnerable. You're vulnerable. You have no connections. You have no wasta. You have no money. Nothing's going to protect you. I guess I wanted to show the gentle, non-ideological side of how these groups operate. He's a very gentle soul, and it's not for nothing that he is the one who essentially tries to protect Nadia and Manal, compared to Imad, who's the educated, ambitious artist.
He's a dude.
Yeah,
He's so annoying.
He's so annoying because he's only there himself.
Oh, and Brigitte is a great character too. Brigitte is the Français, the
Yeah.
Française, really from Paris,
Yeah.
who runs the gallery. And we have high hopes for her from time to time,
Yeah,
but it's all
she'll
it's always
disappoint.
like she's just. When Nadia and Manolo get together, they have to keep their relationship secret. What would be the consequences?
It would be on an individual by individual basis. They could easily have parents or family who would just say, okay, just don't tell anybody. I mean, that's basically, it would depend.
So Manal has an uncle who is turns out kind of surprisingly as well.
Yeah.
Because he sort of seems creepy and threatening at first.
But I think you realize that that's Nadia's assumption all along. And that, you know, like when I first went to Egypt, cars honk all the time, and I'd be like, stop, because I thought they were honking at me. And I thought they're just like, oh, they're harassing me, they're honking at me. And they're not, they're just honking. And, you know, Nasser he's actually frustrated and very sad, and he just has nothing to do, and I wanted to impart, he's kind of looking at Nadia and Manel with a kind of longing, like they're sort of having a life and opportunity that he doesn't have.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Please.
Hello. So you started writing this book in your 30s, right?
I would say late 30s.
How do you think the person who first put pen to paper would feel about the book that you've managed to write today?
I think she would be so happy, and she'd go, what took you so long?
I always appreciate crossing your path here in Montreal, and you know, in all these different worlds, like Image de Femme, and with your baking, and especially on Facebook, these kind of nuanced conversations that you start, and I really appreciate that about you, and just like what a Renaissance woman you are. And I would like to ask, like, how you feel cross-pollination has informed your, because you've done so many things. There's some artists that just do one thing, but you've got your fingers in a bunch of different.
That's been a curse too. I mean, it all informs. I guess I have. I mean, we don't do that anymore. We're not. You know, we kind of slot ourselves really well, and I guess I've never had either the opportunity or the burden of being slotted. It's a bit of both.
Well, maybe we should also say Alf Mabruk to that person, to that Leila.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's beautiful because this book connects all those years and everything that went into it.